clear on our keypad?
Yes, hit clear from your scores. And good evening. And welcome to IEPPV's November 2023 image competition. We are live here at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Corona and doing this live today. So the audience is live and our judges are on Zoom. So sorry, we're adjusting lights in here. We have 3 judges with us tonight. Our first judge is Jessica Valle. I think
Valia.
Valia.
So close, yeah.
I knew I was going to butcher it. Jessica, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I am from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I have been shooting on and off for 25 years, but full-time for at least 15, I want to say. I'm the vice president at our PPC. I realize you guys have PPC too. We have Professional Photographers of Colorado, and I'm a master photographer, master craftsman, and I'm excited to judge for you guys. I've done lots of small judging, and this is the first one with like the official keypad. So hopefully I'm not the one that messes up the keypad, but I think we've got it.
All right, thank you. And Jim Doyle, can you please introduce yourself to our guests that may not know you yet?
My name is Jim Doyle. I have a architectural photography business based out of Southern California. Have a master's degree from PPA, which I enjoyed earning, and I was past president of PPOC and PPC. That's California.
Thank you. And John, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm John Powers. I'm the 4th handsomest guy in the room. I have a Master of Photography degree in photographic craftsman from PPA. It's certified professional photographer, vice president of PPLAC, which is Los Angeles County, and vice president of the American Society of Photographers.
Thank you. We are happy to have you guys with us, and we are going to start our competition with the Masters Division illustrative category. Masters Division illustrative category, our first image is called Precision. Precision. It's just a little bit.
Can you clear, please?
Okay, I'm going to clear so we can try again. So John and Jessica, if you could remember your scores.
Sure.
Clear the scores and please rescore. Jim, we're still not getting your score.
Try it again.
Okay, the score is 81. John, if you could please comment.
Okay, I love the title. I think it fits well for this image here. Hats off to the maker. I love the moment that is captured here. Great color. A little help might have been in order if there could be a little more definition on the jets themselves. They tend to be a little on the dark side. You can go in there and you can boost the lighting on those jets on all 4 of them there to bring out a little more detail. Other than that, I think you got a nice image here. I scored it an 80. I apologize.
Our next image is Never Forget. It's still in the Master Illustrative category. Never Forget. The score is 80. Jim.
I scored it an 80. I think it's a powerful image. It speaks a lot. I think that the one thing that could help it is if you fix some of the barrel distortion or the distortion caused by the super wide angle lens to straighten up some of the headstones, that would help me in the emotional drama within the image. I might clean up the street a little in the foreground also. It's a distraction pulling my eye away from going into the valley and telling the story. I'd also open up the trees just a little bit if you could, but it's really a powerful image, and I think it's got a lot of potential to go forward. I scored it an 80.
Thank you. We are now moving into our landscape category. Master Division landscape category. We have one image. It's called River Bend. River Bend. Score is 84. Jessica.
I also scored it an 84. Oh, my screen went away. Okay, I got it. Never mind. Okay, gosh. We were worried there for a minute. I actually love the leading lines in here and the reflections. The reflections are so hard to get often when you have water, and this water just looks so crystal clear. And so I scored it an 84. I think for me, what could bring it up some is that in the blacks where we have the water that's meeting the grasses here, it loses so much detail in there. And if there was a little bit more detail in there, I probably could have gone up a little bit higher. But beyond that, the leading lines in this are fantastic. I love black and white. And this one is done so well because we've got really great tones of grays and blacks and whites. So I really loved this and scored it an 84.
Thank you. We are now moving to the Master Division photographic artist category. Our first image is Nature's Living Fireworks. Nature's Living Fireworks. Score is 80. Jim, could you please comment?
I scored it an 83. And again, it's a very well done piece. I think the highlights could be pulled down a little bit, but I think overall, using a photograph to create a painting, the artistry that was required to do that, and I just like it just has a very good feeling. I could see it hanging on a wall, about the size it is on my screen right now, and in someone's house or in a gallery. It's well done. I think tone the highlights down, bring out details a little bit in the highlights, and I think it could be it could do really well. I scored it an 83.
Thank you. Continuing in the master division, in the photographic artist category, we have Arrowhead. Arrowhead. Score is 85. John, could you please comment?
Yes, I scored this an 83. I love the design on this. What impact. This opens up and it just grabs your attention. Beautiful title for it. It is indeed. It looks like an arrowhead. Love how the lines move forward and you've got crisscross lines going everywhere on the busy side, but that's good because it keeps your attention. I love the tones here, the rich darks and then the lights contrasting it. Very well done. As I said, score of 83.
Thank you. Still in the photographic artist category, we have 8 Steps to Nirvana. 8 Steps to Nirvana. Score is 84. Jessica.
I love the treatment of this. So I also digitally paint, and so the treatment of this to me is just spectacular. I love that we have this bottom rock here that looks like we're going to go around a curve. It makes me want to keep looking to almost try to peek around that curve to see what is back there. I scored it an 83. I think the only thing that I would change is maybe if there was a couple more flowers in the foreground, it would almost lead your eye because my eye just tends to get stuck right there in the middle where we've got the red flowers on the one side and we've got these pink flowers on the other side, and they're beautiful. I just almost wish there was maybe a color or two in the foreground or something in the foreground that's going to lead me from this bottom rock all the way into the image a little bit more. But the colors in this are fantastic, and the overall treatment to this is just, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Still continuing in the photographic artist category, we have Beulah Street View. Beulah Street View. Score is 82. Jim, could you please comment?
Wow, powerful image. It's it feel I can put myself in that scene. It really feels good. The lines, I'm impressed with the maker's ability to square the camera to make sure all the vertical lines are good. I might have pulled the image just a hair to the left to center in between those two buildings in the center of the frame. It feels like it's off just a hair, but it's done very, very well. The only other comment I would have is just bring the blacks down a little bit or up a little bit, a little stronger. It needs a little more contrast to it. That's the only comment that I have, but it's excellent. I scored it at 84.
Thank you.
If I could just throw in, I want to reiterate how well this is composed. because you have the edges of the buildings there just so perfectly centered all the way around. It is just the hats off to the maker in this well constructed, composed image. I just had to add that, please.
Absolutely. I'm sure the maker likes to hear that. Still continuing in the master division in the photographic artist category, we have Takeoff. Takeoff. Score is 86. John, can you please comment?
Yes, I scored this a 90. In fact, I'm going to challenge my colleagues here. This is a concept that's been done before, and I think this has been done so well. This high key approach to this subject here is just breathtaking. A lot of work went into this to perfectly put this together. You can see it. The story just speaks for itself. This is just a beautiful image, well composed, well documented, perfectly spaced out, brilliantly done. As I said, it's been done before, but this is what you want to see when you're looking in the artistic category like this. And this is just an excellent, and I think it is certainly worthy to be considered in the superior category.
Jim, any comments?
I scored an 85, and I can agree with everything John said. My reason for scoring 85 was I just would like to see a little more detail in the bird, but I can understand completely where John's at, and I'll raise my score.
Jessica, any comments?
The second I scored it an 83, and I knew it was too low as soon as I scored it. But I pushed the button already. I would say for me, what was holding me back a little bit was that I initially, even though now that I've looked at it longer, thought that these last two birds that were taking off, I thought they were identical. And then that's when I immediately knew that they weren't identical, and I had underscored it. And then maybe a tiny bit too much contrast for me, but it is a beautiful image, and I knew that it was underscored immediately.
Okay. Any further rebuttal, John?
Yeah, that contrast is intentional. That's that high key style, and that is done on purpose there. So I challenge my colleagues to join me up in the superior category. Again, I will be scoring it a 90.
Okay, if you can rescore. The new score is 90. Congratulations to the maker. We are continuing still in the photographic artist category with Blue Cars Go Faster. Blue Cars Go Faster. Score is 81. Jessica.
I love this. I actually so I scored it an 83, and I'm going to talk about what I love and then what was kind of holding me back. The parts that I love that this arrow is going the opposite direction of the car. That keeps me almost looping in a loop to continue enjoying this image. I love the color balance and the color harmony. We've got cools, we've got warm in the wheels. What is really holding me back though is at the very top, we've got this pylon. It's probably like a light. It's just super distracting up there. And maybe even that whole set of those double lines in the top just don't feel necessary. But then I wonder if the crop would be too tight. But the car and then the one arrow to me are just, those are speaking to me more than the rest of this at the very top of the image.
Can
Can
I
I
add
make a-
something?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
To the maker, something to caution. Those windows are over glared there. There's no definition there whatsoever. And the glares on the top of the car itself, you lose the pinstripes going across the top there with the glare on top of it. It just becomes one whiteness up there. So be careful with your angles there, and be careful of the glares on the windows and on top of the roof there.
Thank you.
I had one comment. My suggestion would be to crop it tighter on the top and the bottom. You don't need the white lines at the bottom, come up just below the arrow, and right about where the imperfection is on the right-hand side and the cement, somewhere in that area is where a crop, I think, could make this pull. There's so much cement around, I want to pull my eye in tighter to the car. So I scored it at 81.
Yeah, good point. Excellent.
Okay, and our final image in the photographic artist category, we have Santa Fe 3751. Santa Fe 3751. Score is an 84. Jim, if you'd like to comment.
I scored it a 90. John, I'm going to challenge it. I think this is, I mean, master artistry. You can do whatever you want with this. This is gorgeous. The tonality, the brush strokes, the way the maker composed it based on what the individual had to work with. I think it's stunning. I scored it a 90. I'd like you guys to raise the score up if you would.
Okay, I'm going to clear the scores if you guys would like to make any further comments. Jessica, do you have any comments?
I agree with all of those points. I love that we kept so much of the detail from the original while also getting rid of all of these distracting elements that were in the original photograph. I was at an 84. I feel like there could have maybe been a little more detail right in the middle. I don't know the words of trains, but there's the big black areas right in the very middle between the two areas that have lots of color in them. Maybe a little bit of detail in there might have helped me get up a little bit higher initially, but I don't mind going up at all. It's beautiful.
John, your comments.
Jim, I need your help. What the maker's doing here is a lot of fun, no question about it. But the variety of colors, I'm not seeing any rhyme or reason. I know it's an expression, artistic expression, but there just seems to be so much arbitrariness going on here. I'm looking for some rhyme or reason here, and it just isn't working for me. Help me, Jim.
Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, and I don't mean that in any condescending way. It came around, and I was very impressed with it. This kind of work I've never been able to do, and if you look at the lighting, where the lighting is coming from, the right-hand side, just like on the train. The center section where the coupler is and the boiler area, it has detail, but yeah, it's black, but it's because it's black. There's nothing in there really. I mean, the maker obviously took time to create an artistic side of this that is pretty interesting. I think I could see this hanging in a little boy's room, not Thomas the Train, but here's the what is it, 3751. That's just my comment, my feelings about it. And if you feel that you can see what I just tried to sell you, bring your number up.
What are you going to score it?
I'm going to stay at 90.
Okay.
And the new score is 90. Congratulations to the maker.
Thank you, judges.
That is the last image in our photographic artist category. We are now going to the Master Division Photojournalism. And we have one entry, and it's called 600 mile per hour vapor cone. 600 mile per hour vapor cone. Score is 85. John, if you can please comment.
I'm stuck on this 90 for some reason. I love it. I have photographed this before, some just identical to this, but I could not do it with the disciplines of photojournalism. So to do this virtually straight out of the camera with very little dodge and burn and maybe cleaning up some spots here and there, this is just brilliant work here. Timing is just, you can't ask for better timing. And because it's in the photojournalism category, capturing this moment, I felt it belonged in the superior category and scored it a 90.
Thank you. We are now moving into our Master Division Portrait category. First image in the portrait category is Little Black Dress. Little Black Dress. Score is 84. Jessica.
I love this. So the title is perfect, because we're seeing this little black dress. I love that we've got details in the blacks, with the exception of just like maybe right underneath her arm, though I'm pretty sure I can still see some of the fabric crease that goes across her waist. The lighting on this is just spectacular. It's not too bright, but it's also not low key either. And so we've got great lighting pattern. It's really working with the whole vibe of her image. By her image, I mean not the maker, but the lady. She's in such a seductive pose, which goes so well with Little Black Dress, that this is just very well done. And I scored it an 85.
Thank you. Continuing in the portrait category, we have A Little Crazy. A Little Crazy. Score is 85. Jim.
I scored it at 84. A little crazy. This is good. He's having a great time. A couple of things that I mean, it's a amazing image. It really captures the essence of the little boy at the moment, and the location is phenomenal. The things that I would do maybe to enhance it a little bit, it looks like the depth of field, the perception, or the focus plane is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right down near the wheels and off to the side. I would expect to see a little more in focus back there. And there's a little bit of too much of a hair light, I think, around his hair, especially on the left-hand side, his right side of his head, on the left-hand side of the image, the white area. If you just tone that down a little bit, I think you've got a really great shot. I like the framing. I like the matting that you did. I think it came in really good. Just there's something about the focus where the wheels of the tricycle are and the ground. If you could fix that, I think this would go up way high. I scored it at 84.
Thank you. Continuing in the portrait category, Sisters Bond. Sisters Bond. Score is 85. John.
Oh, I love this. Hats off to the maker on this. What a story this is telling here with Sisters Bond. You just see it just in the way that's posed, the way it is set up like this. Just lovely. I love the great depth of field there, which just forces you to look at these two little girls here and just keep your eye there. One thing to the maker, if this was a candid moment, I'm not going to say anything, but if it was set up, something to keep in mind in the future, that little girl on the left, I would use her right arm and just kind of wrap it around the waist of her sister there to bring in a little more closeness, because that right arm just kind of dangling there is a bit of a distraction. Just something to keep in mind for the future. But as it is, just a lovely image. I scored it an 85.
Thank you. Still in the portrait category, we have Don't Be Sad, Little Brother. Don't Be Sad, Little Brother. Score is 84. Jessica.
Oh, the story on this one is so cute. So families are my specialty. So this one really speaks to me. Um, the way that she's holding his little chin and he's sad. In my mind, I can just see how the session was going, and maybe he was done. He looks to be about 3 or 4, and he might have just been done. And sometimes, little brothers need their sisters. So the story in this is just fantastic to me. I scored it an 83, and I feel like there's a couple of really, really small things that are drawing my attention that could be easily fixed to get higher. There's a sticker on the bottom of this little girl's shoe. I would remove that and take that out because it's like a square right dead center almost in the middle of the image on the bottom. So it just draws my eye right to that. And then her fingernail polish is so bright. It's that fluorescent pink. And I know little girls come with crazy fingernails. I have 2 of my own little girls that show up with crazy fingernails too. It's something that's really easily toned down. And then my eye wouldn't be drawn to just her little fingertips, and I would be able to focus more on where she's placing her hands on his chin. I love the shallow depth of field. I think that lends really well to this kind of storytelling because it is telling a story. So that's beautiful. And I love that she's got the little bear that's tucked behind her arms too.
If I could add something.
Absolutely.
To the maker, I love this image. I scored it an 85. while you're touching up some things, if you look at her rear end there, and that post in between, there's a little white dot there, a little white something there that's distracting between her rear end there and that post. I would just eliminate that. And I would bring the image up. I would crop it up about a half an inch. You have that dark base there. You don't need so much of that base there. It can be a bit distracting. I would crop up a little bit and take at least half of that dark base out of the picture. Just something to consider.
Thank you. And our last image in the master division, still in the master portrait category, is with my horsey. With my horsey. Score is 85. Jim.
Scored an 85. I like it. It's beautiful. Again, as stated in the last couple, the depth of field, it plays very, very well into this this scene. The use of the background to control the environment, or not control the environment, but place the subject right in the correct position in that background. It's stunning. It might open up the horse a little bit, just bring it up a little bit. That might help, but I scored it an 85. I love it. I mean, I could see this as a the parents probably love this to death.
Thank you. We're now moving into the regular division. Yay. The first category in the regular division is illustrative. And our first image in the illustrative category, regular division, is the merry-go-round. Merry-go-round. Score is 84. John.
And that's exactly what I scored it, an 84. This is wonderful. An image like this is not easy to get. This takes a lot of trial and error on these images here. And this is just a wonderful moment captured here. I love the story, A Merry-Go-Round, great title for it. I like the way it is composed, the angle. One thing for the maker to consider is on the top left corner of this drop, you have defined droplets all the way across, and then you just have this brownish blob at the very end there between the drop and the other drops. That's, you can, since it's illustrative, you can certainly remove that and not and you would have more consistency across the board as far as droplets go. But it's just an unknown element there that's kind of distracting. And I think that would help enhance the overall image as it is. Just wonderful, though. Well done. Again, a score of 84.
Thank you. Continuing in the regular division illustrative category, we have Fast Girls. Fast Girls. Score is 84. Jessica.
I scored it an 84. I think the maker did a fantastic job of stopping the motion on this right in the right place. I'm assuming they were using a panning method of capturing this. My clients aren't quite that fast, but the title is fantastic with fast girls. I love the color harmony here that we have that may not have been completely intentional since you can't choose the color of the boat, but the color harmony with the blues and the pinks is just, it's perfect for this. I think if we had a little bit more detail in the front of the boat where it gets pretty dark, I might have gone up a little bit higher. But that was the only thing that was really, really holding me back on this one. I love this one.
Thank you. We are now in the regular division in the landscape category. Our first image in the landscape category is Winter Majestic Mountain. Winter Majestic Mountain. Score is 81. Jim, can you please comment?
I scored it at 83. Take my hat off to the maker for standing there for that long. It's got to be cold. A couple of things that I would, I mean, the image is powerful. I'm not sure that centering the mountain is the right composition for it, but that might be another suggestion, is to move a little to the left. But I think the timing, if you had waited, the maker had waited just a little longer, because in the foreground, it looks like there's some, I don't know why the snow in the foreground is lit up. You know, looks almost like a flash hit it. But if you had waited just a little longer, let those shadows get a little bit longer, I think that could have, and that area in the foreground, or I should say below that rock crest, darkened up a little bit to be more consistent. I think that could improve it dramatically. And there's a little loss of detail in the snow in the foreground and in those two valleys. Pull down the highlights would be my suggestion for that. But I scored it at 83, and I like the composition. It makes me feel cold.
Thank you. Continuing in the landscape category, regular division, we have Alone. Alone. Score is 84. John.
I scored this an 83. I love the title. I love what the maker did here. The maker is a real artist here. Not like, and not that the others aren't, but the artistic value comes out, because what the person did here is took a concept that is usually done with a portrait of people and made it a portrait of a structure. And this illustrates so well aloneness in a structure. Usually you think of aloneness in a person, in a portrait of a human being, but they took a structure and gave it feeling, the feeling of loneliness here. And that's just wonderful. And it was well constructed, well composed. I like the elongation here. It gives more of that isolation than just a snapshot of the building. It's dead center, which would, what I think enhances that loneliness. What a wonderful concept. And I gave it a score. You know what? I'm going to have to challenge. I'm sorry to my judges here, but I think it scored an 84. I think it really belongs in the excellent category. I need to challenge this, and I think it needs to go up one.
Okay. Do you have any other comments for your challenge, or are you ready for other comments from other judges?
I'm ready for other comments so I can rebut whatever they say.
Okay. Okay. Jim, do you have any comments?
Initially, yes, I have two comments. I agree with everything John has said. It looks really, it's amazing. I like, especially like the 1947 up on the top on the flag. The thing that I scored an 84, and okay, I can think about going up, but the thing that held me back was the ocean. On one side, there's a big wave. On the left side, it's gone, and and it doesn't look real. It looks like it's been manipulated significantly, but maybe that's just the effect and what the artist wanted to portray. I scored an 84, and I'd consider going up.
Jessica?
Yeah, the impact for me on this one when it initially came up was very strong. This is a great image. I think what was holding me back, I agree with every single one of the positives. What's holding me back is the background on the image left it is confusing in my mind, right? Because we lose some of the detail in the bottom, which looks like underneath a wave here. And then on the other side of the building, it almost looks like just clouds all the way down or clouds meeting some still water. And that's what was holding me back to go even higher. If I understood more of what was happening in the background and it didn't look like two scenes on either side, I would have been way higher on this one.
Okay, I saw that same thing as well. And at first I was going, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. But then the more I looked at it, I realized, you know what? This is just probably the phenomenon of how the clouds were set up that day. You have clouds on the left there that looks like a riptide. If that was oceans, that riptide would be going across all the way to the other side. So therefore, that doesn't make sense that it is a riptide there. That's just a unique formation of the clouds. I have to give that up to Mother Nature and say that's just the way the clouds were that day, because everything else is seamless across the board above that. So why would that be something different below other than the formation of clouds itself? So I give that up to Mother Nature and give her the benefit of the doubt that those are clouds. And I just leave it up to the maker to capture that moment in which Mother Nature had arrayed itself that way. So that's how I have to look at that. That the assumption is that is not waves, but that is clouds in a unique formation. And I will accept it that way. And that's why I want to give this a score in the excellent category and giving it a score of 85.
Okay, judges, if you could please rescore. And the new score is 85. Congratulations to the maker.
Thank you to the judges.
Beautiful image.
And our next image, still in the landscape category in the regular division, we have Sun Setting Over Three Sisters, New South Wales. Sun Setting Over Three Sisters, New South Wales. Score is 80. Jessica.
So the tones the tones in this to me are a little bit on the Like I would like to see a little bit more tonal range, but the colors in this are fantastic. I love the vantage point that we're seeing here and that we have this forefront and then we also have a middle and a background. To me, that's just, it is beautiful. I would have loved to seen a little bit tighter crop on the top because that one little poke of the sun right there is a little bit distracting. So bringing that down just a tiny bit would have brought my score up a little bit higher. Like, what a fantastic view this must have been for the maker. The only other thing that I would suggest is that the title is probably just too long and it doesn't lend itself to the story. So a shorter title that lends itself just a little bit more to the story. It's such a fantastic time of day, though, and the colors in this are spectacular.
Thank you.
And I was at an 81. Sorry.
Let me reiterate if it's okay, because I was focused on that title going, whoa, that is way too
Yeah.
long. Keep that in mind, discipline your title. You probably put in that New South Wales because I don't want people to think that they're looking at the Grand Canyon. We don't care, okay? We're looking at the image itself. You don't need to put where it was located. I know that might be important to the maker, but for those that are looking at it, it really doesn't. We're looking at the quality of the image itself. So keep the title short.
Thank you. Our next one, still in the landscape category with a shorter title, is Road to Salvation. Road to Salvation. Score is 84. Jim.
I scored it an 85, and I may be a little low after looking at it again. I really like, I mean, it's powerful. The vantage point that the maker got. So he's right at level. So you can just see the bottom of the building. It's not, you're not looking up at it. You're right at that level. That the road looks like Christmas candy almost, the pathway up. The tonality all the way through it, it's really spectacular. It was taken at the right time of day. The whatever this corral is up on the right hand side a little bit, that kind of caught my eye and held me there for a second. But other than that, I think it's a stunning image. I scored it an 85.
I'm going to have to challenge because I think Jim is right. I underscored this at an 83, and I do think he's right in everything that he said, and belongs in the excellent category. So I'd like to rescore.
Okay, do you have any other comments to go with your challenge? Or going off of what Jim said as well?
Jim is right on.
Okay, Jessica, any comments?
No, I agree with them both. I initially scored it as an 85 and also considered that maybe that was slightly too low.
Okay, if nobody has any rebuttals, you can go ahead and rescore. The new score is an 87. Congratulations to the maker.
Thank you, judges.
Thank you, John.
Still continuing in the landscape category, we have Bombo Quarry. Excuse me, Bombo Quarry. The score here is now an 81. And John, can you please comment?
Yes, I scored this an 82. I wanted to go higher on this, but several things held me back to the maker. Those washed out waves that are crashing against the rock, some of those are just blown out completely. Pure white there, there's no definition, which is always an eye catcher. Those rocks to the left are so dark, there's no definition in the rocks whatsoever. You can't see any details whatsoever, and yet they're there. They can be pulled out. There's some work that needs to be done on this, and if you would do that work on this and take a little more time, you're going to see this thing go up much, much higher. But I thought it was at least worthy of a merit as is, and I scored it in 82.
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
To the maker, presentation is also important, and this is a beautiful image. However, it needs to be mounted somehow, a frame, a key line with a template behind it, something to hold it in the frame, as opposed to just a picture. And everything that John said, that was just my comment. Presentation can help improve images a lot.
Thank you. Still in the landscape category, we have the Majestic Watchman. The Majestic Watchman. Score is an 84. Jessica.
I also scored it an 84. Oh, the color harmony on this is spectacular. We've got so many tones of pinks and greens, and then we've got this river that just is flowing right through to take us from the foreground all the way through to the background. The impact on this is absolutely spectacular. I would say presentation, lacking presentation is, again, it's really important to have that presentation to kind of hold everything together in these images. And then maybe toning down, and I mean just like the tiniest bit, some of the highlights in this one rock on the image left, just so that they match a little bit more to the further right rock. And I mean just like the tiniest bit. I'm not looking to tone down the actual light that was there, but just so that that light doesn't draw my eye directly to that rock. But the color harmony on this is just, it is stunning.
One point in the top left, the rock that comes down, the large rock, look real close. There's a white ghosting effect. It's just because of the dynamic range of the sensor. Some people call it over sharpening. That's what it's not over sharpening. It's because of the sensor. Clean that up. I think that would be another point. But yeah, the harmony is beautiful. The composition is great. Good eye.
Thank you. The next image, still in the landscape category, is Calm Before the Storm. Calm Before the Storm. Score is an 83. Jim, if you can please comment.
I scored an 80. Initially came around, the image is really great. I like the title, the view, it's gorgeous. My suggestion would be to sharpen up the background a little bit, the midground and background. The foreground is soft. There's some blades there that are soft. Then it gets sharp. It's sharp at the windmill, but then everything else starts to fade off. Don't know what f-stop it was shot at, but I'd just sharpen up those trees a little bit in there, and I think you've got a really nice image. It's beautiful. Again, maybe increase the key line, move the key line on the outside, something that would improve the presentation a little bit. But I think it's a well composed and well done image. I scored it an 80.
Still in the landscape category, we have Sun Beginning to Light Up, Court of the Patriarchs. sun beginning to light up Port of the Patriarchs. Score is 82. John, can you please take this one?
Okay, I thought this was certainly above average and gave it a score of 79. What kept me from the merit category was those tips where the sun is coming through. Granted, there's different levels of lighting going on, but there's such a strong contrast there that I don't think it was handled quite as good as it could be. Some of those tips are just way too almost blown out, if you will. And that's certainly unfortunately true on the cascading of the water in the background there and the back part of the river right there off to the right. There's just a sea of overblown whiteness there that needs to be burnt in a little bit to bring out some kind of definition there. There's some work that needs to be done here. Great concept. I love what the maker was trying to capture here, but I don't think it quite works. Those tips are a little too exaggerated with the light. That's why I scored it a 79.
Can I make one comment?
Go ahead.
To the maker, I would suggest that you look at your lens closely, because I'm seeing the center is stunning. Where the water is, the mountains, the peaks, all the wood but look on the far right hand side, just north of the center line. There's a distortion there. There's a distortion on the left. It isn't as prominent on the left, but there's definitely a distortion on the right hand side where those rocks are, about 3/4 of the way up. One of the things that I find in the kind of photography I do, I have to crop in. I have to allow 10% crop for wherever I set it up to make sure I stay away from the edges or the limitations of my gear. And I would look at the lens that you're using for this shot, because it's suspect as far as the softness on the right hand side. Just a technical point.
And as has been said before, presentation is important.
Continuing still in the landscape category, we have Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time. Score is 83. Jessica.
I love what the maker was doing here. I love that we've got a soft bokeh background, and so that's bringing all the focus into this wheel and the title's perfect, Wheel of Time, because it's an old wheel, and so we're seeing a wheel in time that's overgrown with greenery. I love the color harmony. I clearly love color harmony, so images that speak to me with colors that go well together or lend well to each other always make a huge impact. What I'm noticing though is I wish that we had a little bit more. I know we're using a shallow depth of field, but I kind of wish we had a little bit more focus throughout the wheel. I feel like we lose focus before I was ready to lose focus. So if we had had more focus towards the middle of the wheel, and it's already starting to dip off by the time we get to the middle of the wheel. And so really what's in focus is this very front piece, and it just kind of loses its focus too quickly for me. So possibly even having just slightly changed the angle would have changed that to where we had more of the wheel that was in focus. And so I wouldn't have lost interest towards the back of the image quite as quickly. But I was sitting in an 84. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And our final image in the landscape category in the regular division is Sunset Splendor at Horseshoe Bend. Sunset Splendor at Horseshoe Bend. Score is 82. Jim.
I scored it a 78, and I like the image. I just think that the sun is too strong. The rays don't. The first thing I saw was that, and it was blocking my view. I would have waited until maybe it went behind the cloud or diffused it some way, but there's too many spectral highlights coming off of the sun to for me in this case. The foreground, the rocks in the foreground that have turned gold are too bright, and there's too much contrast in the image also, but I can see why. But that's the biggest drawback for me was the sun. I would, if you have another image from a few moments later when it dipped behind the clouds, that would be important. But also look right along the horizon line, and you'll see that white line. You'll see it down in the water's edge also. Whether those are things that need to be cleaned up. Maybe you could pull the highlights down a little bit in this, but if you had another frame, that might work also to knock that sun down. I scored it a 78.
Thank you. We are at the end of the landscape category. We still have several images, but we're more than halfway through. We're going to take about a 8-minute break. We'll resume at 7:45 local time. That's different from all of you guys, but we're at 37 after. We'll resume back at 45 after. We're just going to take a quick break.
Okay.
Can you hear me, John?
Yes, I can.
I'm old school, still using the headsets. How you been?
Good, good. It's been a bit hectic, but good. How about yourself?
Been good. Been good. Got a chance to shoot the new Segerstrom Shelby Museum with Dwayne Murphy.
Oh,
Oh boy, he produced a 15-month calendar, and so I got a chance. Tim Mathieson got a chance, and a couple other guys that work with me got a chance to help him photograph this giant museum. It was stunning. It was so
oh,
much fun.
yeah, I've seen it. I've not been there, but with your architectural skills, you must have captured some glorious images.
Well, no, I didn't. Dwayne captured some very good
Were you
images.
just there providing technical assistance?
I helped him shoot a lot of the images, not all of them, but a lot of them. So were the ones where they challenged me. Let's put it that way. You know, whenever you photograph big things like that and you have to use light, you
Yeah,
know, that gets to be a real challenge.
that is way over my head. That kind of
Well,
that's
it
that's
it it's a blessing and a curse.
no, my hat's off to you.
Well, you know, I mean, some of the stuff that we're seeing and some of the photography that I've seen of late is really, really good. And I just look at it, you know, I'm a one-shot wonder. You know, when I go out and I try to do what Clark Little does, where you get inside the curl of the wave, you know, I got one shot like that. I'm not going to do it again. You know, I got a really good shot of a plane. And okay, one time, that's it. I'm done.
Oh,
And I got mine. I satisfied the bucket list.
oh
So
my
uh,
goodness.
it's it's really been fun to see the different stuff and try some new things. You know, we're going in another direction with some of our photography. So
Oh,
it's
Okay, you guys ready? Judges, are you ready?
yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ready?
Sorry.
Okay. All right, welcome back after a much needed break. We're going to be continuing with the November image competition 2023 for our IEPPV. We are in the regular division and our category we are starting in now is nature. The first image in our nature category is the crossing. The crossing. Score is 85. John, can you comment?
Yes, I did score this an 85. Wow, this talk about impact. It pops up and you just go, wow. Love the triple tier effect that you have here. What a brilliant composition here. Love it. The softness on the image. Usually I'm one of those that is looking for everything to be tack sharp. But I tell you what, that softness works beautifully here. It's a lovely image. I love that they have that mound of grass in the foreground to balance it as well. This was a well thought out composition. Well done. And if I would suggest something, and it goes around the composition, it's a little too tightly cropped for me. I would like to see a little more breathing room on either side. I think I know what the maker was trying to do here. And it's something I personally would do myself. So I resonate with it. But as I look at it and being objective, I'm going, it's a little too tight and needs to be widened on the left and the right there to give it some breathing room, or maybe on to the right only. Just give it a little breathing room. But what they have here is just excellent image, and that's why I scored it in the excellent category at an 85. Hats off to the maker. Wonderful.
Thank you. Continuing on the nature category, we have robust raccoon. Robust raccoon. Score is 85. Jessica.
I scored it an 85. It's adorable for starters. So it has a lot of initial impact. I think everything is sharp where it's supposed to be sharp, and then we fall off into the bokeh effect in the background. It might have been a little bit brighter time of day, but the light was handled really, really well. There's not blown out highlights and darks that are so dark that you can't see any detail in. So while we have that contrast in there, they've handled that really well. The composition, I almost would have liked it if we had more of the tree at the top and the raccoon was a little bit closer down to the bottom, just to create a little bit more interest in the composition. But very well done. This is absolutely adorable and tack sharp. It's so sharp in the face of this raccoon and all the way down into his feet.
Thank you. Moving on, we have the bugler. The bugler. Score is 83. Jim.
I scored it an 84, and I like the image. I like the framing. I like the composition and everything. I think what I would suggest is that you bring down the highlights, bring up the shadows a little bit so we can see a little bit on his legs and under his chest, but bring down the highlights off especially his body and his rack. Bring down that background a little bit, I think, and focus more in on just I believe that's an elk. But it's really well done. It's just too contrasting. Bring that down a little bit and pull it in a little bit more onto the subject's face. But it's really good. I did an 84, and I think it could go up into the excellent category easy.
Thank you. Still in the nature category, we have New Zealand lily. New Zealand lily. Score is 83. Jim. And actually, sorry, Jim just made a comment. We'll go with John.
All right. I like Jim's comments. They were great. So to add to them, seriously, on this, I enjoyed the composition on this so much. The way the base cone leaf lays on the bottom of this lily up here. I enjoy that. I like the way it's set up. I scored it an 82. It being a lily like this, for me, it was like, I wonder what this was like in color, because it looks so dynamic, and it just begs me to think there was more to this than what I'm looking at. And that's just on me, but it certainly it is worthy of a merit. A little presentation would help, again, to frame it properly. Just having the stroke line itself is nice, but I think insufficient for what is normally expected. I like the definition. I like the clarity. I keep wondering what was it like in color. But again, great composition. Score of 82.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I didn't see this initially, but a little bit above center on the right-hand side of the flower, there is a very sharp outline of a ghost of a petal. I don't know if, and it's sharp as opposed to everything else in the background is soft. I'm not sure what that is, but that the more I look at it, the more I focus in on that. I hope that you can see that it looks like a sharp petal back there, and I think that needs to be removed or cleaned up or something done to it to get rid of it, because it's a distraction to me. I did score it an 84, however. I think it's a lovely image for all the reasons that John mentioned.
Thank you. Continuing, still in the nature category, the next image is monkey business. Monkey business. Score is 82. Jessica.
Well, the expression on him is just adorable. I love how he's connecting with the viewer. So the impact is really high. The overall, I love that it feels like a portrait overall. A few of the things I was at an 84 that were holding me back, and I can actually see them a little bit more now that I'm looking at it even longer. Along the back side, and it's possible it's along most of the edges of his fur. I'm wondering if this bokeh effect was done in post. If it was, it needs to be cleaned up around his fur because it looks like there's areas that go super, super sharp and then also kind of blurry around the edges, almost like a ghosting effect of where his fur was. So I think that could be cleaned up. And then I think in his face, we might, and possibly in his fur too, we might have just a little bit over sharp. It's just a little too sharp for me to where it almost feels a little bit crunchy. But overall, really well done. I love that he's connecting with the viewer, who is me right now, and making that eye contact.
And speaking of eyes, very nice to have the catch lights in them. That's very important.
Okay, moving along. Next image in the nature category, and our last image in the nature category is lovebirds. Lovebirds. Score is 79. Jim.
Scored it a 78, and definitely would have gone higher had it not been for the fact that the bird's faces are out of focus. The beak, the eyes, everything is out of focus, and really that's where my eye is drawn, is to that red beak. The foreground, the bird, the first bird in the foreground is tack sharp, but the eyes and the head, I think, needed to be included in that focus point. But other than that, it's a beautiful image. Well composed. I like the background. I like the framing. I like the way that the maker did that. I just clean up that.
Thank you. We have one image for review in the nature category. Remember, a 79 is a score stays the same. An 80 would bring the score up. The image for review, original score of a 79 is lovebirds. And it stays the same. Our next category, still in the regular division, we are now in the photojournalism category. Our first image is tight squeeze. Tight squeeze. Score is 81. Jessica.
This makes me want to go on vacation immediately. So impact is fantastic. I love the ocean. So for this one, I can very much feel what the maker was going for here. I love that it's called Tight Squeeze because the title is also fantastic. Um, I think what's holding me back further, and I was at an 83, and I almost felt like I was a little bit too high, is that I feel like with the title being Tight Squeeze and the subject matter, I feel like it could have been far more narrow and brought up on the bottom. I don't know that we need all of this water that's on the bottom when what we're looking at is not just this center area, but across that whole area because we're looking at where he's going. So for me, that's what kind of held me back in that respect. And then also thought there was a little spot somewhere, but now I can't find it again. So that might have just been me. But really the cropping on this could have been a little bit tighter and it might have had even a little bit more impact.
Thank you. Continuing in the photojournalism category, we have uh-oh. Uh-oh. Score is 84. John.
I scored this an 80. Certainly thought it was worthy of a merit. I love the diagonal lines from almost corner to corner. It's perfectly composed, absolutely perfect title for it. It's an optical illusion, of course, but it's well composed there. It tells a great story, a humorous story there, knowing that they're not going to collide. Well done. In aerial photography, when you have propelled aircraft, you want to have the propellers blurred so that you see more of a circular definition than a straight frozen shot like we do there. So a little more discipline on the maker's part would have been just about right, but it was certainly worthy of a merit, and I scored it an 80.
Thank you. Moving on, we have, still in photojournalism, we have lean on it. Lean on it. Score is 81. John. Excuse me, Jim. Let's have Jim comment on this one.
I scored it an 80, and I think I'm being generous. I think the crop is too loose. I think it needs to be more focused in on the subject matter. My eye keeps wanting to go out to that other surfer. We need to get in tight and on the subject. I think if you open up the shadows a little bit, bring down the highlights a little bit, and it just seems a little soft. The board, his hands, just seems to be a little on the soft side. So other than that, I think it's a dynamic, powerful image, and I scored it an 80.
Thank you. Our final image in photojournalism is Looking My Way. Looking My Way. Score is 82. Jessica.
So for this one, it's so crisp and clear, and it's also in the blue sky. So for me, it was absolutely deserving of a merit. I think what kept me down even further is that um, it just lacks the interest of there's no clouds in the sky. So some of what I loved about it was also then the longer that I sit and watch the screen, I lose interest quickly just because there's not a whole lot else going on in the sky. And so I'm not sure where the story is going. And I think that was part of why I was lower. I did score it an 84 just because I feel like it's so well shot, but it's lacking a story to me.
Okay, continuing along, we are now in the regular vision portrait category. Our first image in the portrait category is Summertime Memories. Summertime Memories. Score is 82. Jim.
I scored it at 84. It's a great portrait. I think the positioning of the subject, while square to the camera, because of the position of her arms and where her hand placement is across her face, not blocking her face, but still showing her nails. Maybe having her hand on her arm pulled back just a hair to show her fingertips might have been a little bit better. But I think it's a stunning portrait. The lighting is great. And I'm sure that the subject was very pleased with it. I scored it at 84.
Thank you. Continuing in the portrait category, Reverence. Reverence. Score is 87. John.
I scored this an 85. I certainly thought this was an excellent image. The title just brings a smile to my face. It fits perfectly with the story that's being told here. I love the ambient light coming in from the right camera right onto our holy mutt here. This lovely dog. It's beautifully captured. I would suggest to the maker I guess a matter of positioning. It's just a tad to the left. I would have liked to have, since the door is centered, I would have loved to have that dog just centered on the door as well. And that would have been, I would have taken it up to the next category easily. But I'm here in the excellent category at 85 for what has been captured. Tack sharp, beautiful tones, great story. And I love the inference of reverence on this precious little doggy.
I'd like to challenge.
Okay.
I scored it a 90, and this is excellent. This is excellent. The composition, the way the maker positioned the camera, first of all, to capture the scene, and then managed to get the Cocker Spaniel into the right position with the right lighting. It just draws my eye. And look at the angle that the camera is at. It's at the dog's eye level, but yet all the lines are perfectly square. The top of the arches are right there. You don't, the one in the center is there. The ones on the left, you don't have a problem with. The light coming in is focused on the subject, the dog at the right, from the right angle. I think this is an excellent portrait, and I think it should be in the superior category. Jessica, I'd like to hear what you and John have to say as to why it shouldn't go up.
I was at 86. I actually was going to challenge it too, even though I'm only at 86. So I'm glad that you did, Jim. For me, the only reason that I didn't go up even higher initially was that I actually love the placement of the dog, and I love that the dog is not centered on the door. For me, that's creating this spiral of a composition that's working really well within this image. But the door, I would tone down the windows on the door just a touch because they draw my eye a little bit more than I want to. But the longer that I am able to appreciate this image, it just becomes stronger and stronger the longer that we discuss it.
John?
Okay. I agree with everything that's been said as far as the angles go and the placement, except as I said before, I don't want to be redundant, but I think the dog is just a little far to the left to bring it up to the superior category. But I certainly felt it belonged in the excellent category.
One other comment that I'll make is I personally, I wouldn't want to see the dog in the center, but okay. In the frame, there about halfway up on the frame on the right hand side, there's a spot that I would suggest the maker clean up in the frame. But other than that, I think this should be in the superior category, and I would hope you would join me at 90.
Judges, if you could rescore. And the new score is a 90. Congratulations to the maker.
Thank you, judges.
Continuing in the portrait category, we have Three and Feathered Friend. Three and Feathered Friend. Score is 82. Jessica, if you could please comment.
Oh, this is so cute. So I absolutely love that we've got this little girl and she's celebrating her 3rd birthday. 3-year-olds are exceptionally difficult to work with. The term three-nager is a real thing and it comes to mind. So the fact that we have her delicately sitting here and she is holding her feathered friend and we've got the cake and we've got all of the elements really makes the whole story come to life. I was at an 84. I actually might have gone higher. I don't quite understand the placement of it looks like pearls on her face. I see that we have pearls on her dress. It just doesn't, the story's not coming through to me enough. So we would need a little bit more explanation on where that ties into the story. But the lighting is beautiful and the treatment was absolutely beautiful.
I think I can answer that for you if I can interject.
Uh-huh.
I think I can answer that for you if I can interject.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The pearls on the face doesn't make any sense at all. You're right. Because nothing in this image makes any sense. Why do you have a wooden spoon? Why do you have a teacup for a 3-year-old girl? And why is she sitting there? Nothing makes sense. And that's what's so beautiful about this image. It's a crazy story. And I just think that's just remarkable. I loved it. I'm a very conventional individual. And I looked at this and going, none of this makes sense. This is not right. And that's what makes it right. It's a brilliant concept here. So my hat's off to the artist here.
And the bird's eyes aren't open.
And also that. Well done to the maker. And that's my reasoning, Jessica.
I love it.
I'm sure the bird is sleeping.
Yeah.
She's petting him, sleeping. Okay, continuing along in our portrait category, still in the regular division, we have disquieted. Score is 85. Jim.
I scored an 82. Might have been low. Let's start with the frame. I think the framing, the framing is excellent. I think the composition is extremely well done. I think the depth of field could have been a little bit more. His face is just soft. The further we go away from his face, it gets even softer. So there really isn't any sharp area, and I would expect to have seen it a little more sharper than that. But other than that, and I think possibly there are ways to pull that out, but it's an excellent image, and I definitely could have gone up into the excellent category if it had been a little sharper. It's my only comment. I scored it an 82.
Continuing in our portrait category, all the pink piggies. All the pink piggies. Score is 85. John, if you can comment, please.
Love this title on this, all the pink piggies, because I'm looking at, well, there's only one piggy, but then I go, wait a minute, the little hat that this little one is wearing is a piggy hat, and then you've got the piggy toes. It just makes for a great title here. Well captured, nice and clear all the way through where it needs to be clear, and it fades off nicely. I love the depth of field on something like this. Well placed, good tones all the way through, nice balance, lovely story. Well done. I scored it an 85, certainly in the excellent category.
Thank you. Continuing still in the portrait category, we have standing firm. Standing firm. Score is 85. Jessica.
I scored this at an 87. This is beautiful. Not only is the treatment absolutely spectacular, it lends itself to a painterly style, but there's sharpness where there should be sharpness. We have light right behind our subject, but then it kind of fades off into a natural shadow down at the bottom, which is just lending to that story of standing firm. And it's a striking pose that they've gotten this animal into. And then also we're not having that eye contact, but it's looking just past enough to where it's actually stronger, I think, than if the dog had been looking right at the camera. I thought this was absolutely excellent.
Thank you. Still in the portrait category, we now have Knock 'em Dead. Knock 'em Dead. Score is 83. Jim.
I scored this an 82, and I probably could have gone higher, but I'm torn in a couple of areas. One, the background is brighter than the subject, especially in the top left. It's a great executive environmental type portrait, but the light's just too flat. It's good in today's editorial world, but in a competition, a portrait or image competition, I think there are some things like, for instance, around the wrist, the blouse that is just partially showing in places. There's no detail, or at least, well, now it's coming through. There's detail, the black on her jacket and her dress. Initially, there was no, until my eyes adjusted because the background is so bright. There was no detail in her hips. I think the pose is too square on also. So there's just a lot of little things, but I did score it an 82. I think it has a lot of potential. I just tone it down a little bit and clean up some of those things, and I think this could go a long way. It's a beautiful portrait of a young lady.
Continuing in the portrait category, The Littlest Dreamer. The Littlest Dreamer. Score is 84. John.
I scored this an 83. Adorable image. Love the way it is set up and everything. Beautiful, just everything about it. I think it's cropped a little too tight at the top and bottom. I'd like to see a little more breathing room all the way around, just to pull back just a tad. And I think it would then go up into the next category, in my opinion. I lovely title, lovely subject, beautiful setup. Well done to the maker. I'm sure the family is just in love with this image, and rightly so. Just pull back a little bit and give it a little more breathing room.
I would like to challenge that one.
Okay.
I'm at 86. I do appreciate that it is cropped a little bit tight, and I can imagine that the maker probably has some leeway on the crop on that for going forward with this image. It is so difficult to photograph newborns, and this is so delicate and well done. It's called The Littlest Dreamer. It is soft everywhere that it should be soft, and newborn photography should be soft in many places while we have the baby's face in focus. The skin retouching on this is absolutely spectacular. It is incredibly difficult to realistically retouch newborn skin so that it looks like skin, but it's also still soft, and you just want to be able to touch their little cheeks and their little hands. This to me, just absolutely straight out of the gate, belonged in that higher up category.
Jim, any comments?
I scored it an 82, and I'm a bad guy here, I think. I think the background's too overpowering. I think the left-hand side, my eye keeps getting pulled to those white flowers. I can't remember the name of them. It keeps getting pulled to the left-hand side. I think there needs to be a vignette on this. I think it needs to focus more on the child and less on the background. I understand why they wanted to incorporate all this, but I don't think you need all that. It's the subject matter is the littlest dreamer is the baby. And so it was partially the crop and partially the vignette that kept me from going higher. I was at an 82. I'd love to hear your comments about it, and I'll consider going up.
John, your comments?
I've already said about the cropping.
Okay. Jessica, any final rebuttal?
I love the flowers personally. I think the flowers go really well with the whole scene. We've got little white flowers in this blanket that she's so delicately wrapped in. I can't even get that out. again, to me, just the softness and the overall scene, the background, it it doesn't bother me. The texture on the background, I'm not sure if that's what you're saying or to you is overpowering. To me, I feel like it just brings in just enough of that texture so that you can see that it has texture, but it's not overpowering from my perspective. But I just love the color harmony. The longer I sit and look at this, I love it even more.
All right, judges, if you could please rescore. The new score is 86. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Continuing in the portrait category, we now have Eternal Love. Eternal Love. Score is a 78. Jessica.
Yeah, so this one I actually really appreciate the very simple presentation that we have on here. Um, the Eternal Love, I'm not sure that the story is speaking to me as much as it should be. I think that I am so overpowered by the amount of contrast and then whites and then blacks that we have. If this had been the same exact image but shot in a softer lighting pattern, I think it would have been far stronger as far as the story goes. So I think for me, it was just mostly the overpowering contrast was hard to get past on this one.
Thank you. Continuing on in the portrait category, we have Rabbit Reverie. Rabbit Reverie. And the score is 85. Jim, if you can please comment.
It's amazing. The skin textures and the posing and the composition and this is really good. I like the flowers on the left, contradictory from the last one, but I like them. There's a couple of things that if I was going to make a comment, there's a hair just on the right-hand side at about 75% up from the bottom. There's a hair there that possibly is a distraction. And the only other thing is I might bring in the image just a little bit, increase the matte a little bit more, but I think you're at about a 1/4 inch now. If you were to go to a 1/2 inch, I think it could make it stronger because it would increase the drop shadow too. But the positioning of the baby is good. The hands, I really like the hands. It's hard to get the infants to do that. This artist is really a master at managing these young children. It's well done. I scored it an 85.
Thank you. And our final image in the portrait category and our final image for tonight is Just Me and My Baby. Just Me and My Baby. Score is 78. John.
I scored this a 79, certainly above average, almost deserving of a merit. What held me back was the lighting is rather flat. It just straight down all the way across. No definition on the skins whatsoever. Would have liked to seen a little definition there with the lighting to sculpture the faces. Precious, precious story. I thought the moment is well captured here. Delightful things, little things to clean up for the maker to consider. On the father's back, you have that one little white spot of the bokeh there from a tree or sunlight on a leaf or something. right in the middle of the back. That needs to be cleaned up because that is very distracting. And the underwear on the little child there peeking out, that can be covered up because your eye is drawn to that strong whiteness on both the back and the underpants there because they're so small. And so that needs to be cleaned up. But great moment, cute little child there, precious moment with the father, wonderful story. But you need to clean that up and work on the lighting a little bit to bring that up into the merit category.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
The father's collar on his shirt needs to be cleaned up. And there's several things that when you're creating a portrait, you want to try and avoid, like, for instance, the bracelet that he's wearing. I would have had him take the watch off, as John mentioned, not to show the baby's diaper. His hand should be on the back of the child rather than gripping the child against his chest. And the necklace that he has on could possibly have been hidden. They're distractions. And I mean, it's a great photograph of the two of them, but to create a portrait with it, I think, and the baby's hand is gone. Where's the baby's hand? You know, I think there needs to be a little more time taken in creating the pose, so to speak, because baby's not going anywhere and neither is he. So that's just my comment. And his hair's cut off too. I did score it a 77.
Okay, thank you. We do have 2 images for review in the portrait category. The first one with an original score of 78 is Eternal Love. Again, if you want it to remain the same, score it a 79. If you want it to go up to an 80, please score an 80. It remains the same. And the last image for review is Just Me and My Baby with an original score of 78. And it also stays the same. So we are now done on pickcompetition.com. So we can shut that off if you want to shut that off. And we now have some tiebreakers that the judges are going to have to do. So for the tiebreakers, I will show you the images that are tied, and then the judges get to discuss between themselves which one they prefer for the best of category. We have a best of category for each of our categories. And then after we break these ties, we will show you the best of category for each of the categories in each division, the master division and the regular division. And the judges will pick their favorite for the best of show for master and best of show for regular division. So our first tie is in the master division illustrative category. We had 2 images that tied. Oh, hold on a second. I will share my screen as soon as I get it going the right way.
Unshare.
Hold on a second. Okay, so hold on. Okay, these are the 2 images that are tied in the illustrative master division. So if you want to discuss amongst yourself which one you prefer or which one. Oh, excuse me, it's in photographic artistry.
I absolutely feel like the birds is where it's at on this one. between the two images. I love the train and I love all of the colors that went into the train, but the maker's skill to sit there and get every frame of this bird that was taking off is spectacular.
And composed as well. I concur.
Yeah.
Everybody good with that?
3 for 3.
Mhm.
Okay, so congratulations to the maker. Takeoff is the best of class for photographic artistry. I'll stop sharing my screen for just a minute while I take care of that.
Can the audience hear us discussing?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
So be nice.
Always. Remember, we have to have ours judged too at some point.
Oh, we just finished ours in Colorado. It was a rough day.
The next is the Master Division Portrait category. We have a three-way tie.
Oh,
When I share my screen, it always flips back. Ah.
Okay. For me, all three are absolutely wonderful. But for me, the moment captured with that little boy being crazy resonates. I would go with the boy on the trike. Is my favorite of the three.
I'm torn between the boy and the two girls.
Yeah, I can
he was
see
also torn between the two. I feel like the treatment and the cleanup on the one with the little boy that's being crazy, which I also find just it's adorable. I'm the mom that would put that one on my wall. I feel like the tree is distracting in the one with the girls. If we're going to compare these two, they're both beautiful. All three of these are gorgeous images. I just feel like there was a little bit more cleanup done on this other one. And so I would probably also go that way too.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in the critique, that little girl's right arm on the left dangling there is a little distracting and it could be used better. You don't have anything like that going on with the little boy. I mean, those
Right.
two front teeth out and everything, it just, what a story.
So your preference is the one on the left as you're
Mine
looking
is.
at the.
A little bit crazy.
I don't know. I haven't heard from Jim.
No, I agree. A little bit crazy.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, to the maker, for those other two,
Yeah.
they're remarkable,
Mhm.
just remarkable.
Give me just a minute to take care of that selection. This is in the regular division. Let me get the right category. Illustrative. We have merry-go-round and fast girls.
I'm going to go with merry-go-round
That was my initial thought as well.
based on complexity and difficulty.
Mhm.
Could be a little brighter, but it's excellent. I think for me, it's merry-go-round.
And both are very, very well done.
Yeah,
That
excellent.
panning on the right is very difficult to do, and it was captured so nicely. Okay, I'll go with you on the merry. 2 out of 3. It doesn't matter which way I go. You've already decided.
We've already outvoted you, John.
Exactly.
That's why I agreed with you on the other ones. It was 2 out of 3. But I did agree with you.
And now we have the regular division nature category.
And I can see
Oh.
pros for both of these.
I'm for the bison.
I'm for the bison based on impact. Impact alone, that when that one came up, and I live in a state where we have bison, that's a beautiful image. They're both very beautiful image. The one is very cute, and I want to now to have a raccoon at home. But that bison image is just so impactful.
You ever had a raccoon?
No, but I want one now.
No, you really don't.
No, you don't.
We
You
have
don't wish-
raccoons too, but
You don't wish them on your worst enemy.
no, I'll let you guys know how it goes if I get one.
They're bandits. Look at them.
Okay, well, I've
Absolutely.
heard at least 2 of you want the bison, so
Yes,
bison.
it's a bison. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, now we will be doing the best of show out of the best of category winners. The first will be the best of show for the Masters division. No, we were just breaking ties. There wasn't a tie in that one. Come on. So if you want to eliminate some so that you end up with less on the screen, you can let me know which ones to eliminate.
Eliminate.
Have a clear, this is the one that we just love the most.
Eliminate the 2 aircraft.
Yes,
Everybody good with that?
yes.
Okay.
Black and white can go.
Black and white could go too. Yeah, it was between those two.
Yeah, this is it.
My vote's birds.
I think my vote's going to be birds too, even though my specialty is families and portraiture. I love them both, but those birds are spectacular.
Yep.
Hats off to the maker of the crazy one.
Both of them.
I know. I don't want to let go of either of them
Yeah,
at this point.
birds have it, but if the maker is listening on the crazy shot there, well done. Hats off to you indeed.
Close. Yeah.
Okay, so congratulations to Takeoff as being our best of show for the Master Division. We'll just congratulate him now. Congratulations to Bruce Bonet.
Is Bruce in the audience?
Yes, he is.
Okay, Bruce, you owe us.
Okay, now we're going to be doing best of show for the regular division. So let me pull those up. And then we can announce all of the winners.
No, we owe him for allowing us to judge it.
There you go. Oh, you're so diplomatic, Jim. Oh,
Oh,
Wait,
man.
wait. We have the wrong one. Hold on.
okay. Please make it easier.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me make sure that I got this right. Okay, hold on just a minute. I had a little computer error. I'll change to green. Okay. These are now the best of category winners for the regular division. So you need to select your best, your favorite for the best of show for the regular division. So you can eliminate ones or pick your favorite.
I have a favorite.
Eliminate the planes.
Hmm.
Everybody good eliminating planes?
I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
Eliminate the water,
Yeah.
the splash,
The water
Very
drop?
cool.
please. Eliminate the church.
Yeah.
Yep.
I go for the dog.
I do too.
And Jim, I knew you were going to say that.
Sorry.
I was gonna go for the dog from the very beginning. It's hard. Like all of these were so fantastic. That was
Excellent,
a
yeah.
really hard decision.
Then congratulations to the best of show for the regular division. Also best of class for portrait is Alicia Anderson. So congratulations to Alicia. And now we will very quickly announce all of the category winners.
Okay.
Let's see, maybe I can do it. Oh, well, I'm not going to try and do it one at a time. We're just going to go across the top. So the first one is in the master illustrative. We have Precision, which is the planes on the upper left. Next to it, we have Riverbend, which is the black and white. Precision is Peter Levshin. Riverbend is also Peter Levshin for the master landscape. And then we had our best of category for photographic artist, which was also our best of show, Takeoff by Bruce Benet. Then we have our master photojournalism with the plane breaking through the vapor cone, 600-mile-per-hour vapor cone by Peter Levshin. And then we have our master division portrait category, A Little Crazy by Erica Tinoco. So congratulations to all of our master division winners.
Really excellent.
Woo woo. And now in our regular division, in our illustrative category, we have Merry Go Round by Brad Tops. And in our landscape division, we have Road to Salvation by Annette Gregory. In our nature division, we have The Crossing by Annette Gregory. In our photojournalism category, we have Uh-Oh by Kim Shapiro. And in our regular division portrait, we have Reverence, which also is our best of show by Alicia Anderson. So congratulations to all of our winners. Thank you, judges, for all of your time and your comments. Your comments were great. I'm sure that a lot of our makers can take some of what you put forth and use that to make their images better and increase their scoring capability. And scores or not, just make their images better, make their craft a little better. So we appreciate all of your time and effort to helping us get better at what we do. We really appreciate you.
If I can make one comment.
Came and joined us here today too. Yes, you can make a comment.
Your regular category, I think some of those people need to be looked at a second time. I think you have some ringers in there, some imposters. They belong in the masters category. Some of them, they're just wonderful, wonderful images.
If they
Mhm.
don't have their master's degree, you should be having them get on
They
to
will.
PPA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, they will shortly.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Because they're just, I mean, all in all of both categories there's just exceptional work all the way around. But your regulars, quote unquote, are exceptional.
Thank you. I think everybody did a good job, and it was a good competition. So we really appreciate everything.
And our hats off to you for leading us through all of this. You were
I didn't mess up the
Agreed.
buttons.
Well, we're just happy we made it through the night.
And we did it quickly. It's
Yeah.
not even 9 yet. Congratulations.
Well,
Excellent.
our chairperson for the image comp committee is in Florida. And the last time he was gone, well, we had almost everybody gone. I did it online completely in September, but this month, we wanted to do it in person again. So a wing and a prayer, and we got here and we got everything put together, and
wonderful.
by some miracle, it all worked.
It did.
So,
Always does.
so we're happy that it worked.
Great.
All right. Well, good night. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you can stop the recording.